Let me tell you about the afternoon my husband's female best friend stood in my kitchen, drinking from my glass, and told me to my face that he only married me because she was already taken. Most women would have screamed. Most would have thrown her out. I did neither. I cut my finger on a chef's knife, locked myself in the bathroom, and made a decision. Over the next 2 weeks, I would quietly collect every receipt, every old text, every confession, and then I would destroy 16 years of her lies in one room. It started like every other Saturday. The charcoal chimney sat on the back patio, coals graying at the edges, the kind of perfect late September afternoon that makes you believe your life is a beer commercial. I had 3 bowls of salsa lined up on the counter, a tray of burgers waiting, and a pasta salad that had taken 40 minutes because I'd wanted it to be perfect. It was stupid, wanting things to be perfect for a backyard cookout, but I always did. I wanted the house to look right, the food to taste right, for Morgan to walk in and see that I had this handled. I heard the front door unlock before I heard her. Ethan had given Morgan a key 2 years ago. For emergencies, he'd said, and I had smiled and said of course. Because what else do you say when your husband gives his female best friend a key to your house? Hey, girl, Morgan called, dropping her tote on the entryway bench. Her sandals clicked across the hardwood. Ethan around? Out back, starting the grill. She appeared in the kitchen doorway, sunglasses pushed up on her head, wearing a linen romper that cost more than my entire work-from-home wardrobe. She leaned against the counter, reached for my water glass, the one with the blue stripe, the one I used every morning, and took a sip. God, it's hot, she said, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand. She set the glass back down exactly where I'd. The lipstick stain was a soft, not my color. I picked it up and moved it to the. You can chop the cilantro, she said. Board's right. She washed her hands, the way people do when they're performing helpfulness rather than actually hitting, and picked up the chef. The cilantro came out in uneven chunks. I didn't sing. I never said anything. That was the thing about being a wife. You didn't say the small things because you didn't want to be the wife who said the small. Said, her knife making a dull thock again. How have you been? Every good? Good, I said. I was squeezing limes. My hands were yeah? Stopped. I could for looking. That's nice. I mean, you know, I always tell people, Ethan and I are back. High school. Can you believe it? Believe it. I'd heard the story approximately 400 times. He's a good guy, I said. Her got softer, the way it always did when she like they were sharing a secret I wasn't part of. You know, something about if things weren't. All that, my hand stilled on the lime, juice down my wrist. What do you mean? I asked, and my voice came out normal, which was all miracle. Down. Turns me fully, leaning one hip against the counter like we were girlfriends going. The smile face was gentle, pitying. Oh, honey. She reached and touched my arm, and I had to fight the urge to pull away. I just mean, Ethan and I, we had a thing. Not a thing, but, you know, a what if. And honestly, I think if I hadn't egg when I did, he probably... Very quiet. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, I laughed at something. Probably a name, probably nothing. I looked at Morgan's, saw that she meant it. Cruelly, not exactly. Like she was stating what everyone already knew, and I had just... Heath you because I was... She said. The was blue. I mean, you must know that, right? You're a smart girl. My hand moved before I thought about it. I reached for the knife, the one she'd using still on the counter, to move it out of the way, something with my hands, and the blade caught index finger. A clean cut, deep enough that the blood came fast. My skin. Oh, one said, stepping. You okay? I looked at my finger. The blood welled and dripped onto the tile. One drop, then another. Watched them fall and thought, this is convenient. Fine, I said. I wrapped my towel pressed hard. Give me a second. I walked down the hall, room, and closed the door. The lock clicked. I leaned against my reflection, pale face, shaking hand, but nobody was watching. I turned on the coal, my finger under it. The sting was sharp and clean. I watched the pink water swirl down the... What about what she'd said? You because I would... Not, I think maybe. Not what if. Because, as cause, as explanation. As the thing that underneath every joke, every shared cup, every time Ethan said Morgan's just like that, when I asked why she'd shown up unannounced for the third time that month I pressed a cartoon bandage. Finger. We kept them under the sink for when our niece visited, closed toilet lid. I took out my phone. My thumb hovered over Dane's name. I could text her. I could call. I could say Morgan just told me Ethan is only with me because she and I don't know what to do. But I didn't. Because if I said it out loud, it became real. And if it became real, I had to do something about it. Doing something meant confronting Ethan. And confronting Ethan meant a fight meant the quiet. Careful life I'd built. The salsa and the salad and the house with the back might crack open. The back door slid open. Ethan's closer now. Babe, you in here? Morgan said you cut yourself. I stood. I looked in the mirror one time. Smoothed my shirt. Took a breath. Locked the door. I called back. Second. And in that second, standing in the bathroom with a bandaged finger that sounded like it belonged to someone else, the decision I told you about at the start. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to throw Morgan out. I was going to do something far more. I was going to be patient. I was going to collect. I was going to wait until I had every single piece. And then I was going to room where neither of them could look away. 16 years of lies. One room where it would all end. Bathroom door and smiled at my husband. Just a nick, I said. Let's get back out there before the burgers burn. The cookout ended without incident, which was worse than if there had been one. Morgan stayed 3 hours, laughed too loud at Ethan's jokes, sat on the arm of his patio chair like she belonged there, and I smiled through all of it, because Dana texted me halfway through and said don't do anything in front of other people, you'll regret it. So I didn't. I passed burgers, refilled cups, watched Morgan's hand land on Ethan's shoulder for the 4th time, and thought about receipts. I started that night. After Ethan fell asleep, he falls asleep fast, the way people do when nothing's weighing on them. I got out of bed and went to the office closet where we kept old electronics. Found my previous phone, an iPhone 8, plugged it in. Sat on the floor and waited. The texts went back 6 years. I didn't read all of them. I didn't need to. I searched Morgan's name and scrolled, 2019, 2 weeks before the wedding. Are you sure she's the right one? You seem stressed lately. Just saying. Ethan's reply. It's just wedding stuff. She's great. Just wedding stuff. She's great. Not don't talk about her like. Not Morgan, that's out of line. Just wedding stuff. She's great. 2020. She seems different when I'm around. Like she's putting on a show. You ever notice that? I think you're imagining things. Imagining things. 2020. You used to be so much fun before. Remember when we'd drive to the coast and just talk? Yeah, those were good times. Good. I set the phone down. My hands were. I could hear Ethan snoring in them. I thought about waking him up, shoving the phone in his face, saying, Look at what she's been saying about me for years. Look at how you never once defended me. But it was 2 a.m, and I was tired, and deep down, that if I did that tonight, he'd apologize and say he didn't realize, and then nothing would, because he didn't want things to change. He wanted everyone to. I took screenshots. Every single one. Emailed them myself. Put the old phone back. 3 days later, the group chinged. The one with Ethan Lee. His sister, parents, a couple. Morgan wasn't technically family, but Ethan had added her years ago and nobody had the heart. The message was a photo. Morgan and Ethan at a college party, tween. Both younger. Morgan's arm slung around Ethan's neck, both laughing. Caption, my ride or die. Some things never change. Always first in my book. I stared at it. The chat was for a minute. Then Ethan hearted it. His sister's all cute. Then Ethan replied with an emoji. Laughing emoji. I typed and deleted 3 times. Then I wrote, cute photo. When was this taken? I'd seen this one. Innocuous. But it was the first time I'd ever put in that group, and I could feel the sign. Morgan replied later. Oh, just an old from back in the day. Ethan looks like a baby, huh? That was it. But marked my territory. I'd said I see this. Ring it. That night, Ethan got a tech TV. He glanced at it, turned his phone face table. I noticed. I always noticed. Who was that? Just Morgan. Says she's having issues. Wants to get dinner this week, talk it out. Just the few? Yeah. She said she'd want to make it a whole thing. Just a quick bite. I looked at the TV, a car insurance commercial. I'd for a long time. Ethan, I said finally. She knew something at the cookout. I didn't mention it because I wanted to think about it. She said you're only with me being married when we met. Room went quiet. Ethan turned to look at me. His face did that thing. Confused, then annoyed, then something else, maybe guilt, maybe just the discomfort to take a side. She what? She didn't mean that. Morgan said stuff she doesn't think before she meant it, I said. My voice was steady, and I'm telling you now, I don't having dinner alone with her. Not this week, not ever, he sighed, ran a hand through his hair. Babe, come on, she's going through a hard time. You can, I said. You can say your wife is and you're not going to do it. Go. But if you go, don't lie to me about it. I stood up and went to the kitchen. Didn't look back. Heard him phone. Heard him didn't hear what he wrote. The credit card statement. A habit I'd picked up after the cookout. Monitoring, watching, collecting. There was a charge from a restaurant downtown. Thursday night, 8642ers. 2 people. He was working late Thursday. I took a screenshot. Added it to the folder I'd started on my laptop. Called it Household Appliances. I was proud of that. The thing to check. I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee getting cold and thought about what Dana said. Anything in front of other people. But this wasn't in front of other people. This was just me, and a folder full of screenshots, and the quiet realization that my husband and I lied about a dinner. The surface had cracked. And I was standing on the edge, looking down, deciding whether to jump or push. I waited until Sunday morning. Ethan was making pancakes. He makes pancakes on Sundays, his thing. His way of saying everything is normal even when it isn't. The kitchen smelled like butter and maple syrup. I sat at the table and watched him flip a pancake and thought, this is the conversation. I need to talk to you, I said. Sure. He didn't turn around. About what? About Morgan. About the dinner you didn't tell me about. About the fact that I checked the credit card and I know you went. The spatula paused mid-flip. He turned around. His face did that slow shift from casual to defensive, like a door locking. You went through my credit card? I went through our credit card. The one with both our names. The one you used to take another woman to dinner and then lied about. I didn't lie. I said I was working late. I was working late. And then Morgan called and she was upset. And you went to dinner. And you didn't tell me. That's a lie by omission, Ethan. And you know. He leaned against the counter. The pancakes were burning on the grill. Neither of us moved. Oh, okay, I should have told you. I knew you'd be weird about. My voice was flat. I'm not weird. I'm asking you to respect a boundary. I'm asking you not to meet her alone. I'm asking you to stop letting her walk into our house with a key and use my cups and sit on your chair and tell me I'm a consolation prize. That's not weird. She's my best friend. I've known her since I was 6. You can't just... I'm not asking you to cut her off. I'm asking you to set a boundary. No one-on-one dinners. No unannounced visits. And you tell her clearly that the thing she said to me at the cookout was... He was quiet for a long time. The pancake on the griddle started to smoke. He flipped it automatically. The way you do things when you're not... Fine, he said. I knew he didn't because 3 days later, we were driving to the grocery store. His phone rang through the booth. Morgan's name appeared on it. Ethan glanced at me and line. Texted. I watched his thumbs move. Who was that? I asked. You. Your work named Morgan? The quiet. The AC blew cold between us. Ethan exhaled. She's upset. She says you've been cold to her. She says you're making things where everyone does. I stared out the window. Strip malls went by one after another. Because when someone sets a boundary, the person who's been crossing it weird works. She's going through a lot with Greg. I can't just... You already said that. And I already told you what I need. I turned to face him. I need you to choose. Not forever, not dramatically. Just choose your wife in this moment. Tell her no. Tell her you can't talk right now because her wife is in the car. Tell her anything that texts you later. Didn't say anything. He pulled into the grocery store parking the car. The end as it cooled. I can't do this right, he said. You. I opened the car door. I'm going as I'll be there tonight. Maybe tomorrow. You figure out what you want, and when you're ready to actually have a conversation instead of avoiding, you call me. I got out. Didn't slam the door. Closed it gently, which was worse. It meant I was calm. And calm Clara was the version that I mind. At the grocery store. Bought a bottle of wine and a bag of pretzels in the parking lot. She answered on the second ring. She did again. Dana. He did it again. I corrected. He can't stop choosing her. Not even in the car. Come over. I'm off at 6. We'll order Thai and you can scream into a bow and we'll figure this out. I sat in my car, driven separately, thank God. Looked at my phone. Text from Ethan. I'm sorry. Let's tonight. I didn't reply. Put the car in, headed to Dana's apartment. And somewhere between the grocery store and the highway, realized something. I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't even angry, not the hot crying kind. I was something colder. Ethan had 48 hours. That was generous. If he couldn't say the words, if he couldn't look my eye and tell her to back off, I was going to stop asking. I was going to start doing, and I already knew where to start. I was at the Harris Teeter on 6 Forks. reaching for a carton of oat milk, when I heard someone say my name. Clara? Hey, I turned. It was Greg. He was holding a basket with a frozen pizza and a bottle of ibuprofen. He looked tired, the kind of tired that doesn't come from one bad night, but from a year of them. Greg, I said. Hi, how are you? He shrugged. Living the dream. He nodded at my cart, half full of things I didn't need because I was staying at Dana's and shopping for one was depressing. You doing okay? Ethan said you guys were. He stopped. Actually, maybe I shouldn't. No, it's fine. We're taking some space. It's been a rough couple weeks. Greg nodded slowly, looked around the cereal aisle like he was checking for witnesses. Then he said, quiet. Can I ask you something? And you don't have to answer. Shh. Does she talk about me? To Ethan? About us? I studied his face. He wasn't being dramatic. He was a man who'd been carrying something for a long time and had finally found someone who might understand. She talks to Ethan a lot, I said carefully. About your marriage. Says you're having issues, Greg laughed. Shorter. We're not having issues, Clara. We've been done for over a year. I moved into the guest room last, filed for divorce, and she won't sign the paper. My hand tightened on the car handle. She won't? She says. He stopped, dead. She says she doesn't want to be the divorced one in her. Says Ethan will look at her differently. Says a lot of things, but she can't stand the idea of being the one who got left, even though she's the one who checked out of this marriage. The oat milk was cold against my fingers. Greg, I said, can I ask something else? When Ethan and Morgan were in college, was there ever a looked at me, for a second surprised, then like he was putting pieces together. You mean, did they date? No, Ethan was into her, sure, but he knew. But Morgan put him down. Twice, I think. She told me about it once. She said, he paused to say it. She said he safety net. Please be there. That she could come back to him if she wanted. Said it like it was a good thing, like he was a savings account to draw from. I felt the floor shift under me, not dramatically. The door didn't shake. The series didn't fall. But something had me rearranged. Morgan wasn't a woman who'd drag and settled. Morgan was a woman who rejected Ethan, married Greg, made a mistake, and was now trying to retroactively rewrite the story so Ethan was who really wanted her, and she was the available. It wasn't a love story. It was ration. She told me, I said, my voice sounding far away, that Ethan is only with me. Greg's face went through several expressions, surprise, then anger, then looked like pity. Of course she did. That's the story she tells herself. Because if she turned him down, then she has to admit she blew it. And Morgan can't admit she blew anything. Everything that happens to his fault. We stood in the cereal aisle another minute. A kid rode past on a scooter attached to a shopping cart. The piece to sale on deli meat. Sorry, Greg said. Whatever she's put you through. I tried to talk to her about it. She doesn't listen. Thanks for me. I meant it. My throat felt tight. I left the grocery store with the oat milk new information. Called Dana from the car. I need to meet Greg again, I said. Formally. With dates. With exact quotes. I need him to tell me everything he knows about Morgan and Ethan, and I can record it. Clara. Dana's voice was this. What are you doing? I'm building a case. Not for court. For Ethan. For Morgan. For anyone who's ever listened to her say I'm the crazy wife. I'm going to lay it all out, and I'm going to make it impossible for them to pretend they know. I hung up. 2 minutes later, my phone rang. I let it go to voicemail. Then I texted him, I know about Greg. I know Morgan won't sign the divorce. I know she rejected you twice in college. We need to, but not until I'm ready. I hit send and put the phone down. The road stretched out in front of me, and for the first time in weeks, knew exactly where I was going. Ethan didn't text back, didn't call. For 3 days, silence, and I used every minute of it. I started with the notebook. It was in a box in the garage, the kind labeled Ethan college stuff that had been taped shut since we moved in. Found it Tuesday morning, sitting cross-legged on the concrete floor with a box cutter. Black moleskin, the kind Ethan used to carry everywhere. I hadn't seen it in years. Entries were sporadic, some pages blank, some doodles. But there, spring 2014, a block of text in Ethan's messy handwriting. She said we're like family. That's what she said. Family. I don't know how to be family with someone I'm in love with. Maybe I'm supposed to be grateful. She didn't say never. She said not now. So I'll wait. Except, what if waiting is just another word for being stuck? I turned the page. November 2014. She's with Greg. Told me tonight. Like it was news I should be happy about. I said congratulations. I think I meant. I'm tired of being the person who's always there when she needs something, and never there when she wants. 6 months May 2015, a diphthery. Later. Met some night. Dana and she laughed at my joke about the construct. Actually laughed, not the police. She didn't know who Morgan was. Didn't ask about my relationship status. Just talked to me like I was a person and not a project. Drove home, thought, what if this is what it feels like when someone chooses you without you having earned it? I closed the book. Sat on the garage floor a long time. Concrete cold through my pants. Somewhere in the house, the HVAC. I thought about it. What if this is what it feels like when someone chooses you without you? And I realized Ethan, for all his flaws and terrible boundaries, he'd know the difference. Written it down, and then spent 6 years letting Morgan meet. I photographed every relevant page, uploaded them to the folder, household, appliances, called Greg. Will you meet me? I said, we're public. I want to record conversation, not against you, to use against the story. I need you to say on record what you told me at the grocery store. The dates, the quotes, everything. Greg was quiet. Then, yeah, I'll do it. She's been lying about me for years. If this helps you, me too. We met at a Panera Wednesday afternoon. I set my phone on the table, with recorder open, and asked Greg to one line. He did. Told me about Morgan's rejection of Ethan. It's 2014. Sarah Lindqvist's birthday, Morgan said, "You're like my brother." Second time, 2014. Morgan had started seeing and told Ethan, "I'm happy, you should move on." Told me about Morgan saying, years later, "I'll always be there, he's my backup." Told me about the guest room, the divorce papers. Morgan refusing to sign because what would Ethan think, all of it. When Greg left, I sat in the park once. His voice was steady. He wasn't performing. He was a man who'd been waiting a long one to ask. The third came unexpected Friday. I was when my phone, Morgan, didn't answer. Then I did record. "Clara," she said, tight, angry. Nothing like the warned Ethan. "What did you say to Greg? He called me and he was saying things. You talking to my husband about me? Husband who's divorcing you?" I kept my voice calm. "The one you won't let leave?" Sharp intake of breath. Then laughed, but it wasn't funny. "You think you're so smart? You think you figured it all out, but you don't get it, Clara. Ethan and I have something you can't. 16 years. You think a few stations with Greg are going to... He chose me, Morgan, because you rejected twice. And then you married Greg and realized you made a mistake, and now you're trying to rewrite history so you don't have to feel like the loser, silence on the other, and absolute." Then Morgan's voice broke, crying, breaking like this. "You don't know anything. You don't know what it's like to the life you should have had. Had your chance. You turned it down. Twice. That's not my fault. That's not Ethan's fault. That's yours." I hung up, sat there with the phone in hand, recording stunning, my own heartbeat. I'd done it, said the thing out loud to Morgan, and she hadn't denied it. Hadn't said, "That's not true." Said, "You don't know what it's like," which was as good as a confession. I saved the recording, added it to the folder, the texts, had the book, had Greg's testimony, had Morgan's own voice. The folder was getting ready. I didn't know it yet, but Morgan was getting ready too. And her next move wasn't a text or a phone call. It was a car ride to Ethan's office, and she wasn't going to be polite about it. Ethan called at 4:47 on a Thursday. I almost didn't answer. We hadn't spoken in 6 days, not since I'd sent the text about Greg and the rejections. But I answered. "She's here," Ethan said. Voice low, strained, at my office. Clara, she's yelling. Says you've been harassing her, that you've been talking to Greg behind her back, that you're trying to destroy her life. My boss just left. I need you to get down here. I was putting on my shoes before he finished the sentence. I'm on my way. I brought the laptop, brought the phone with the recordings, brought the printed photos of the notebook. I'd printed them that morning. For some reason I couldn't explain, like I'd known. Drove to Ethan's office in 20 minutes, which was illegal on 6 Fork, and I didn't care. Office on the 3rd floor. Reception empty. Everyone had left for the day, or everyone had fled. Ethan's office door closed. I could hear Morgan's voice through it, high and fast. Open the door. Morgan was standing in front of Ethan's desk, hair down, makeup smudged, holding her phone like a weapon. Ethan behind the desk, leaning back in his chair, looking like a man who'd aged 10 years in a... When he saw me, he stopped. "Thank God," he said. Morgan turned, eyes red. You did this. You turned Greg against me, you went through my personal... Sit down, Morgan. I'd set the laptop on the corner of the... I'm not here to argue. I'm here to show you something, and I want Ethan to hear. I'm not listening. You told me. And my voice cut through hers like a knife. That Ethan is with me because you were married. You said it in my kitchen, while you were using my glass and eating my food. Said it like it was a fact. So I'm going to show you the facts. All of them. And then we're going to see whose version of this story up. I opened the folder. Household. Appliances. Projected the first document. Ethan's office had a projector for client presentations, and I was going first. March 2014. You and Ethan at Sarah Lindqvist's birthday party. Ethan told you he had feelings for you. You said, and I'm quoting Greg Pierce, your other. Weird. Morgan opened. Kept going. November 10. You'd start dating Greg. Ethan asked you again, or tried to. You said, and again Greg, who you told yourself, I'm happy. Those are not mine, not Greg's. Click to the next slide. Photographs of the notebook. Writing. Up on the wall. This is Ethan's journal. Spring 14. He writes, she said family. I don't know how to be family with love with. November 2. She's with Greg. I'm tired of being the person who's always there when she needs something and never there. Ethan. Face pale. Didn't look at him. Couldn't. If I looked at him, I might cry. And I was not going to cry in Pierce. May 2015, I said, clicking again. Ethan meets me. He writes, what if this is what it feels like when someone chooses you with to earn it? He wrote Morgan about me 6 months after I told him to move on. Didn't settle for me. He chose me because I didn't make him earn it. I didn't keep him on a shelf for 16 years, just I needed a backup. Click to the audio file. Morgan's voice filled the room. The ring from the phone call. The one where she said you don't know what it's like to watch someone else should have had. That's you. 3 days ago. You didn't deny the rejections. Didn't say I was lying. Said I don't know what it's like. Which means you know it's true. Room quiet. Projector hummed. Morgan standing very still. Face changing to something else. Awe. Exposed. Just uncovered. And finally. Greg. He's divorcing you. Moved into guest room over a year ago. Filed in June. You signed the papers because, and I'm quoting you again, the version you told Greg, Ethan think. You're not Fridge, Morgan. You're fighting for an audience. You need Ethan to think you're the one who got away, because if you admit you're the one who walked away, then you have to admit and you can't. You just can't. I closed the laptop. Dark except for the desk lamp. Morgan looked at Ethan. Voice small now. Ethan held up a hand. He was looking at me. Had been looking at me. Went up. Morgan, he said, Eddie. I need you to listen to me. Once. Pause. You never chose me. Not once. You kept me around because I was safe. Because I would leave. And Clara chose me. She saw me, all of it. The guy who writes in journals and can't set a bound burns pancakes on Sunday. And she chose me anyway. That's the difference. That's always been the difference. Morgan's crumpled. For a second, I thought she might cry, might apologize, might say something that would make this less ugly. Instead, Megan walked to the door. Enjoy victory, she said. Thick. It was worth it. She. Door clicked shut. Office very quiet. Ethan came around the desk. Stood in me, close but not touching. He wasn't sure. Sarah. I don't even know where to start. I looked at him. Felt tired. Felt like I'd been carrying something very heavy for a very long time and had just set it down. We're still shaking. Start with the boundary, I said. And then we'll see. Morgan didn't go quietly. 3 days after the office, I got a text from Dana with a screenshot. Group chat. The one with Ethan's friends. The one I wasn't even in. Morgan had posted a long message. Clara has been going through a really hard time. She's been taking it out on everyone. I just want everyone to know I'm here if she needs help. Don't take it personally. Subtext clear. Clara is unstable. Clara is the problem. Morgan is the gracious victim. I showed it to Ethan. We were at the kitchen table. He'd asked me to come home. I'd said not yet, but I'd agreed to meet at the house to talk. He read the message, and his jaw tightened. I'll handle it, he said. Handle it how? He picked up his phone, typed a long time, hit send, turned the screen toward me so I could read it before it went out. Morgan, I need you to stop. Clara is my wife. What you said to her in our kitchen was unacceptable. What you've been doing for years, the comments, the boundary crossing, the rewriting of our history, is unacceptable. I'm not going to pretend anymore. Clara and I are working on our marriage, and that doesn't include you. Please don't contact either of us for the foreseeable future. I read it twice, looked at Ethan. You're sure? I said. I'm sure. He hit send. I should have done it a year ago, 5 years ago, but I'm doing it now. Replies started immediately. Ethan's sister, finally, friend Marcus. Damn, Morgan didn't reply. An hour later, I saw she'd left the group. That was the beginning, not the end. Ethan started couples counseling the following week, found a therapist, made the appointment, showed up. I went with him, but I set the terms, told him, I'm not going to forgive you because you had one good day. I'm going to watch what you do. For 6 months. If you show up, if you set boundaries, if you defend me when I'm not in the room, then we rebuild. If you don't, I leave. And this time, I won't come back. Ethan agreed. Didn't argue. Didn't say. But because Morgan wasn't in the conversation anymore, Greg signed the divorce papers in October. Morgan didn't fight it after the group chat. Maybe she realized there was no audience left to perform for. I ran into him at the grocery store again a month later. He was buying actual groceries now, not frozen pizza and ibuprofen. How are you? I asked. Good, he said, and looked like he meant it. Moving to Charlotte. New job. New start. That's great, Clara. He paused. For what it's worth, you were right. About all of it. She never chose him. She just didn't want anyone else to have him either. I nodded. Didn't say anything. There wasn't anything left to say. November came. Leaves turned. My finger had healed. The cut Morgan's knife had made. The one that started everything. Faint scar. Pale. Almost invisible. I looked at it sometime and thought about how much had changed since that afternoon in the kitchen. It was a Sunday in late November when it happened. I was making dinner. Pasta, nothing fancy, just pasta and sauce and a salad. Kitchen warm. Radio on low. Some old soul station. Chopping basil when I heard the back door open and close. Ethan came. Been working in the yard. Raking leaves, cleaning gutters. Washed his hands at the sink and stood next to me. Need help? He asked. You can grate the parmesan. He got the cheese and the gravy. Stood side by side at the counter, not talking, just working. Basil smelled green and sharp. Pasta water bubbled. Somewhere, a dog barked. Ordinary. So ordinary I almost didn't notice when I realized. My shoulders were down. Jaw unclenched. I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was just standing, in my kitchen, making pasta with my husband, and it was enough. Ethan paused mid. I never told about the note, about what I. He looked at me, eyes earnest, the way they got when he was trying to say something. I meant every word. You chose, and I chose you. And I'm sorry I let anyone make either of us forget. I looked, thought about saying something profound, something that would wrap the whole thing up in a neat. But that wasn't how life worked. That wasn't how marriages worked. So I said the simplest thing I could think. I now finished the cheese. He smiled, went back to radio, played a song I pasta almost after dishes, after kitchen. I sat on the back patio with a glass of wine. Air could see my Ethan inside, watching a game on the house. I thought about the coat, the bathroom with the cartoon bear band, about the folder labeled house, appliances full of screenshots and recordings and photographs, about the office, the project, Morgan's face when the truth came. And I didn't. Winning would mean Morgan was wrong and I was right, and that was the. But it wasn't that. Morgan was wrong, but I'd spent 6 years letting it. Smiled through the shared cups and the unannounced visits and the we go way back story. Been the wife who said, that wasn't Morgan. That was. The difference, I wasn't that wife and I'd found my voice. You would use it again if I had. But I hoped I wouldn't. Hoped the quiet, ordinary life, the pasta and the grating and the radio and the cold November would be. It was. It was. I finished. Went in. Locked the front. The one Morgan used to have a key to. The key Ethan had changed in our. And went.